What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. I'm Lane Araby, with me, Dylan Taylor, Caleb Mitchell behind the scenes as well. Got the brooms out again. At this point, we don't even have to put them back in the closet. They're just sticking in a corner somewhere. We
Permanent
just get them
fixture.
out. Right. Yeah. We just need we need to just set them up like kind of like this stuff is set up in the background. Just post it up somewhere on a wall.
We've started
Um,
a trend. It seems like a lot of shows like brooms on it.
oh yeah, I know it's weird. I don't know. Anyway, Vandy boys got put in timeout this weekend, and everybody keeps coming up to me asking like, "Hey man, what do you think? What do you?" They're coming to me at work and different places, and I'm like, "Dude, college baseball, it's Tennessee and everybody else, as far as I'm concerned. I might be a little biased. There's a lot of orange behind me, but the way Tennessee's playing baseball right now, pitching, hitting, and fielding was much improved. Tennessee was a clear cut best team every single game this weekend against her. And we're going to make fun of Vanderbilt in the show, and that's obvious because they got swept and they deserve it after what they pulled on Friday. But they're a really good baseball team. So I'll start with that. That's the only good thing I'm going to say about them. I think they're a good baseball team, but they got twaxed on Hawkins Field. A little deja vu. I mean, 2009, Tennessee gets a sweep in Nashville. Tim Corbin also checked Cody Hahn's bat. I mean,
It's a trend.
you asked for it. So, a little bit closer to your hometown. What did you think about the Vols taking it to Vandy this weekend?
Ticket prices, first off, insane. Let me just start with that. Ticketmaster is my mortal enemy.
Clay
But
Travis couldn't get you in?
I ain't got that kind of pull, brother. But no, I mean it's like you said, it was a waxing. Like against I mean, talking the last 10 years, the most dominant program in college baseball, and you swept them without. We said last week against Ole Miss, no drama really until that last game. Was there any drama this weekend? I don't remember any.
Yeah, except for that first inning.
Yeah, one inning
Yeah.
when you're going against the best program in America. I mean, I hate them just as much as you do. It's just as much as anybody watching this show. But I mean, they've dominated people for a long time. But it seems like the shoe is on the other foot now, my friend, and it was a joy to watch.
Yeah, the one thing Vanderbilt kind of hang their hat on was baseball, and we just ripped that from underneath them. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, drop your questions in the chat. We'll be happy to get to those. Man, I'm just riding high. We're 9-0. We're on a 20-game win streak, 28-1, and we're dominating in every aspect of the game. And I can't say enough about this pitching staff. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're able to do. I mean, holding Vandy to 11 hits in a 3-game series. I mean, has that been done before? It maybe has, but it's been a handful of times if it has.
About two freshmen.
Exactly. Yeah, that too. Um,
Well, and I think, sorry, I'm going to chime in on the pitchers. I think Drew Beam's been talked about a lot. He's been very impressive, but he's probably, you've had him at third. He's your Sunday starter of the guys you have right now. He was probably the most impressive performance this weekend.
Yeah, he was.
yeah, that's a guy who isn't giving his spot up, is what it looks like to me. I mean, how do you? Let's get into that real quick. I mean, what do you do? Blade Tidwell gets the start last night. Looked pretty good to me. Gave up a single, but had 4 strikeouts. The slider was working, sitting at 90, 96, hit 97 a couple times. So, he looks like he's getting to his old self a little bit. But how do you mess with this rotation right now?
I've been saying it ever since Beam started. I mean, it seemed like it was going to be him that was going to get pulled when Blade was back. But now, I mean, I think I said it last week. How do you pull him out? Now I think the answer is you don't. Like he's there until he struggles, and so far I mean, 9 innings. What was it? 2 hits, complete game, two
Yep.
hits. I mean, you can't take that out. Like you can't.
Right.
Blade will have to do what he has to do. But I mean, you go 9 innings, 2 hits against Vanderbilt. You're not coming out if I'm the coach.
Listen to this. So 3 SEC starts for Drew Beam, 24 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, and 13 strikeouts. I mean, do you get any better than that?
Maybe Chase Burns and Dollander, but I mean that's just part of your same rotation. So I don't even know if you can. I don't think it's better if you're not having to face it. So
Right.
the rich get richer.
I don't know what you do, but I mean this bullpen, one way or the other, is going to get better with Blade Tidwell or Drew Beam or whoever they end up putting back there. It looks like to me it's probably going to be Blade Tidwell for now. Still working on his pitch count a little bit, so I think he could end up being a long reliever for Tennessee. Also, Tony Vitello mentioned right after the game that Seth Halverson is on his way back. Maybe not this weekend, but it is getting close. And that just Tennessee's rotation was already the best in the country. You're adding 2 preseason All-American number 1. You're adding Missouri's ace from last year as well. So, and then you have Ben Joyce last night who is pumping the guns with 101, 102 all the way up to 104, and then he throws an 82 mile an hour breaking ball in there. I mean it's impossible to hit. You can't touch that.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Drew Beam being the odd man out for forever. Who we might want to start mentioning, it may be Xander Seacrest. Like, I mean, he had kind of carved out that midweek role, in Tuesday, Wednesday games. So it may wind up, I mean, that's just another arm for your bullpen then. But if I could very well see Blade go into the bullpen, like you said, for a role, and maybe Halverson step into that midweek slot, just depending on how the healing process goes. But yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, I mean, it's been on Blade or Beam. It could wind up being Xander Seacrest, who has done a decent job in that midweek slot. So somebody that's done pretty well is going to see their playing time reduced, which is tough. But I mean, it's just the level this program's at right now.
Yeah, and the talent keeps coming in, and it was, it was building this roster, building depth, and now you got a ton of depth, and maybe more than, there's just not enough games to have guys, play for you. Even this weekend, your starters are pitching so well, you only had to use 4 relievers, and Kirby came in and he threw 3 pitches. So you really only had to use 3 guys out of your bullpen this weekend because your starting pitching was so good.
Have we gotten Caleb's take on this? I didn't know if we had ever heard about Caleb on it, if he would keep Beam there or go with Blade.
As it stands, like right now or later in the season?
Just right now.
Yeah, right now. What do you do?
Right now, I keep Blade in the bullpen. He's, like Landon said earlier, he's still getting the pitch count up. So I mean, why throw him out there as a starter when you've got to give him the job? You can let that build up. You can fill those roles when you got the hot hand. So it may be Beam later in the season still, and then you need that extra starter when you start postseason play, anyways. So I think it's all about building up that pitch count right now, and then you always have him there if you have to go away from any of the 3 guys in the weekend in early innings. A guy that can take you from the 3rd to the 7th if you need. Like I think Landon mentioned him being a long reliever, so I think you keep him in the bullpen for now. You got guys that are doing it right now.
Yeah, and how crappy is it if you find a way to get out of, Beam, Burns, or Dollander and have to go Blade Tidwell is the next guy you face. I mean, Lipscomb, poor guys. Blade Tidwell, you get a little bit of Xander Seacrest in there, and then Ben Joyce. I mean, they're probably like, good God, like, who else do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to get Caleb's take on that because I feel like that's kind of become the consensus within the last 2 weeks is everything people I see the comment on it's how do you take him out at this point? Like, I mean, it's a first team All-American and you're struggling to find a way to get him involved just because you can't mess up what you've got going with 2 freshmen. And I mean, at the beginning of the year, yeah, Beam got off to a nice start, but what I was saying then was, he's the layover until Blade's back, and now, I mean, is he not one of the best pitchers in the SEC at this point?
Yeah, I mean, all 3 guys are on your Golden Spikes watch list. So, I mean, and he was the National College Baseball Writers Association Pitcher of the Month, SEC Pitcher of the Week, Freshman of the Week. I mean, how do you go into a meeting with Drew Beam, and the meeting would be fine. He would take it, and it would be. But how do you really like look somebody in the eyes and be like, "Hey, man, you're the third guy out. Like you got to go to the bullpen." You can't do that.
I'm
Not
not
after this
saying
weekend. You can't.
I'm not saying I would take it badly, but I think I would kind of be like, yeah, I'll do whatever. But what else did I have to do to earn a spot? Like, I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
he's done it all.
Yeah.
Well, and wasn't Arkansas extremely dangerous with Cops in a similar role that Tidwell may be in the next month last year? It was almost like you didn't want to jump out to an early lead because then you were facing Kevin Cops for 6 innings.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you do that to Beam on Sunday or Burns on a Friday, that means you got Tidwell for 6 innings, and then probably Ben Joyce is going to come in and close it out, and you better hope your pitcher doesn't give up any runs.
Right. Yeah, just insane. I mean, you talked about the talent, and Tennessee's just kind of taking it from Vanderbilt. I mean, look at Drew Beam, what, 30, 40 minutes away from Nashville, goes to Tennessee. You had Burns turn down MLB money. He's from the mid-state as well, from Gallatin. He goes to Tennessee. I mean, it's just Vandy just doesn't, and maybe NIL. I heard somebody say it last night. NIL is a huge deal for Tennessee to take, get some of those players from Vandy, because Vandy's always had that scholarship advantage.
Right.
With NIL money, they don't anymore.
No more private school Vandy money. It's
yeah.
We're paying people for Mike Honcho jerseys now.
Right. Imagine being the Vandy whistler and having to whistle the entire time, trying to rally the troops, and just failed every single time.
Imagine sitting next to him.
Oh yeah.
I think it was the Friday or Saturday game. They panned to him one time when he was in the full act. I mean, he was going then. I saw some kid sitting next to him, probably wasn't older than 8 years old, and I'm like, man, that's probably one of the first games he's been to, if I'm imagining. You have to sit next to that guy who also looks like, I mean, I don't want to comment on his appearance, but he kind of a creepy looking dude.
He shouldn't be sitting that close to an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll never condone bringing a gun to a sporting event, but like having him would make me understand why you would think about it.
Well, I don't
Landon,
condone it, but I
verified
understand
Sam
it.
Houston fan.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the series a little bit. Friday, the fireworks start in the first inning. I mean, I don't know why you would give Tennessee a little bit of fuel, just like Ole Miss did after Friday's game, but Tim Corbin thought it'd be a great idea to start it up like that. And it can go one or two ways from that. Tennessee can be like, you have the momentum kind of ripped from under you after a solo shot in the first. But after Luke Lipsius got a hold of a hanging breaking ball and hit it on top of Jason Aldean's rooftop bar on Broadway, I mean, it was on from there. He let the umpire know. He got the home plate, checked the bat. I mean, the personality came out, and Tennessee's just going to, if things don't go their way, they're taking it on the chin, and they're coming back swinging.
Yeah, I mean, the aspect of it being obviously planned, too. I mean, this wasn't just the Vanderbilt catcher acting on his own accord to say, oh, I read this rule. Let me pick up the bat here and take a look. I mean,
What catcher picks up a opposing player's bat after a home run?
I just normally threw it back in their dugout.
Yeah.
So I mean, knowing that it was planned and knowing who told him to do that and where the plan came from, I mean, that's what really added the fire onto it, is you know where that direction's coming from, and it's already probably your biggest rival. So I love to see it.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that, Tim Corbin. We really appreciate it. We didn't need any more motivation. Yeah, exactly. But then we got the birth of Mike Honcho, the legendary in-game interview with Tony Vitello, when he says it with a straight face. It's just like, he doesn't even go to school at UT. We forge his transcripts. He's really a 35-year-old man named Mike Honcho. And he's talking about Jordan Beck, and it's kind of taken a life of its own from there. I don't know how you keep a straight face and actually say that, but Tony Vitello is just built different.
That's the beauty of NIL too. I mean, this time 2 years ago, it's a funny moment, maybe a rallying moment for a team, but now it's money in Jordan Beck's pocket when he's already going to have a healthy amount here soon. But it's can we call it the birth, or is that the reincarnation of Mike Honcho?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Or
John
rebirth of Mike Honcho.
John C. Riley.
Yeah. But man, I want to go back to Luke Lipsey's home run. I mean, was that not just a statement?
Oh yeah,
Your 6-year guy comes up after something like that and just hammers one and lets you know about it.
Yeah, I mean the home run is one thing, but knowing, I mean, I knew rounding the bases, you knew it was about to come out of that. I mean, a team like Tennessee, when you've seen the celebrations, how they like to have fun. I mean, you knew that moment something was going to come there, so it was exciting to see, and it didn't disappoint either. That's if I was in that moment, that is exactly what I would have done too. Luke couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah, and then you got that beautiful son of a gun karma in the 5th inning with Vanderbilt the day before the series puts out a hype video of their new light show, and then come to find out they have never played under the lights, and so they just kept losing the ball. Yeah.
Their lights work well.
Blinded by the lights.
Yeah.
Who is their contractor? I'd like to get in touch with their contractor.
Yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to have home field advantage, but Vanderbilt did not, and they kind of screwed themselves from the get-go with putting out that hype video.
Two things about the Vanderbilt team. First, going on the lights thing, they looked like the weekend in Landon's favorite goal performance.
Yeah.
The second thing, it's not been talked about enough. After Mike Honcho was ruled out in the first, they came out of the dugout like they won the series.
Yeah, they did.
They were all out. They were all almost out at home plate, just about celebrating. That's embarrassing. How can you be a Vanderbilt fan ever? And then after that, how can you proudly whistle with them?
Yeah, I mean it's not a. I get what you're saying. It's not a win for your team, like in any aspect. That's okay. You took a run off the board, but I mean,
he still went off on you.
Right. And if I'm Tim Corbin, I mean, I get why you do it. Yeah, if you know there's a possibility to save a run, but the long term ramifications of what wound up happening, I just the risk reward is something you've really got to weigh there, and obviously he didn't very well.
Yeah, hate to see it. And it seems like Mike Honcho is not over it anyway from the looks of his home run last night that went 451 feet. And that was the bat he got after that one was taken. So he was like, yeah, I hit pretty well with that one, so I just kept using it. I mean, that was in 50-degree weather and in the rain. He hit it 451 feet.
What was the exit velo? Was it 110? 110. Okay. I saw 110. I think it was Lawson's 405 or 105, I think. I mean, it's both of them were drilled. Yeah. Especially Jordan Beck on that swing. I mean, we didn't have the angle from center field, obviously, or I didn't, at least I didn't find a feed with it. So I saw the aerial shot, and the amount of power he generates in a swing that just looks so easy is the kind of it's the kind of swings where I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say he's going to be a Hall of Fame or anything, but it's the kind of thing where, like, you hear some guys where they take batting practice and it's just different. Like, it comes off their bat different. It looks like one of those swings.
Yeah, it turns the heads when they're hitting BP for sure. The bat flip made us, and you can't get a better feed from that either because you could only really see it in person. I don't know if you got to see it from that angle last night, but legendary bat flip. I hope Tennessee tweets out some sort of different angle from the highlights. But Tony Vitello wasn't really happy with how they played last night. Had some base running mistakes, like 4 of them. So not great, but let's get back into Vanderbilt. Lipscomb, we'll do Lipscomb after that. Saturday. So Friday you won that game 6-2. Friday you win 5-2. Tennessee jumps out 3-0 lead. A couple extra base hits. Lipscomb hits a home run in the 5th, I think. Yeah, to make it 5-0. Tennessee only had 3 hits in this game. Lipscomb had 3. Drew Gilbert had 1, and Jordan Beck had 2. That was the only 3 guys that got a hit in this game, and Tennessee wins it 6-2.
Big hits too. One more quick note on the Lipscomb game. I did want to shout out whoever. I know I saw Houston Cress, I believe, was the one quote tweeted or retweeted, but the whatever fan it was that did like the Google Maps view. I don't know if you saw it or not of
Oh, yeah.
where like you can see the outfield wall, then you see the stand or the grandstand out there, then you see the street and the sidewalk behind it. Just that's got to be the new reference image when anybody brings up. I mean, hopefully to God they don't bring up the small park argument anymore, but that's got to be the go-to image. You don't have to say anything in the tweet, text, whatever you're sending it on. You just send that picture.
Well, that only went out because we have such a small ballpark.
Yeah. I mean, 451.
Yeah.
That's probably Mississippi State's left field, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been off the wall for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vanderbilt only had 3 hits themselves, so Trey Lipscomb matched Vanderbilt's entire team. And another great outing from Chase Dolander. And going back to Friday a little bit, you did get to see some bullpen guys. Will Mabry came up huge. Kirby Cannell got a big out, only threw 3 pitches, and then Camden Sewell kind of finished it up from there. And then Dolander on Saturday was phenomenal. I mean, the pitching ninja, he constantly just watches Tennessee games.
I mean,
right?
that's
all
another
their feed.
Dolander. That's talking about guys that make it just look easy. I mean, sitting there and getting up past the 5th inning where he's, getting close up around 70 pitches into the 6th, 7th inning. And I mean, his motion looks effortless regardless, but he's still doing that, pumping 98 at the end of games. So it's just, I don't know how he does it. I mean, it doesn't look like he changes anything throughout his windup throughout the game though. And it's the speed it hasn't dropped off all year, and it doesn't throughout games. So freak of nature.
Yep.
Don't know how he made it to Georgia Southern for a year. That's one of the biggest question marks I've had this year is how did nobody pick up on that?
Right. He gave up 3 hits. 2 of those were in the 7th inning. They were both solo shots. So he had a 1-hitter going into the 7th inning. So
yeah,
props to him. Great outing. And I mean, just Tennessee just keeps winning. And we said it. I think on this show, or maybe on More Important Issues, we talked about it. How if Tennessee can, be 1-1 heading into Sunday, Vanderbilt's pitching staff is a little uncertain on Sunday. So I felt good about going into Sunday 2-0. I was like, we could get this sweep with Drew Beam, and them not knowing they actually pitched one of their best guys in Patrick Riley, who's mostly been a long reliever for them. And, he pitched pretty well, but Tennessee just pitched it better.
Yeah, and I mean, Riley looked really good, but I think a lot of that too. We were chasing a lot of high pitches in that game too, so it's probably a little bit of the energy coming off Friday. And I mean, it's a big series. You're juiced up. Everybody wants to be the guy that hits one out against Vandy, so it wasn't concerning. But Riley did look good. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, David Price wasn't walking through those doors for Vanderbilt this weekend. I mean, that's just the reality of it. That's kind of, for us as Tennessee fans, that's kind of the new reality, I hope, that sets in, that, we're getting the
David Price.
Yeah, Drew Beam, Blackman High School, same high school. I mean, we're starting to get those guys now, and I hope that's the trend that continues.
Yep. For sure, yeah. We're going to even the playing fields a little bit with Vanderbilt. You're not going to be able to just get everybody from Tennessee that you want and then, kind of have your pick elsewhere. You're going to have to be fighting another in-state school for a lot of those. And seeing Tennessee's mentality and their, the culture and their personality, watching those teams this weekend, obviously Tennessee won, but just watching them, how do you not want to play for Tennessee over Vanderbilt?
That was the biggest part of the last 2 weeks for me is, I mean, Vanderbilt's been the school for any kid in this area, really. I mean, you think back to guys like Dansby Swanson growing up in Marietta. I mean, still the Vanderbilt pull had some effect there. I mean, you've seen that just from their dominance but you've also seen schools like Ole Miss that, everybody, I mean, I love the powder blue unis, don't get me wrong, but I love beating them more in the powder blue unis. So they've got a little bit of the attraction on social media with stuff like that. They've got a pretty good social media team. That's stuff that you have to look at now in this age of recruiting and NIL. So that was, besides winning the games, obviously, that was the next biggest takeaway for me is you did this against two schools that are kind of seen as kind of a trendy, like cool school. I mean, Ole Miss, they've got our old friend Lane Kiffin down there doing the gimmicks with that, and then you've got the established school, and you go in and you're 6-0 against them. That was the next biggest takeaway is in recruiting that's going to pay off big time.
Yeah, powder blue is cool and all, but you still have to live in the state of Mississippi. So
Right.
Think about that before you hit that commit button. Tennessee on Sunday, Drew Gilbert got things going in the fourth with a solo shot. He was 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs in the game. Drew Beam, or I like the nickname The Dream. Drew Beam, putting it together, The Dream. I don't know why, it just rolls off the tongue a little bit. I mean, he's a pro. Complete game against Vanderbilt. Again, 30, 40 minutes. That's about right from Murfreesboro to Nashville, right?
Yeah.
For him to just go in there with all those emotions that you were talking about, being juiced up and everything, and shove it the way he did, I mean, that kid's a pro.
After barely pitching in the last 2 years, which is the most insane part, which is another reason I don't know how you take him out, because he's doing all this when he hasn't pitched since he was 16 years old, maybe. So, I mean, you don't know. I mean, we know what Blake Tidwell is. I mean, All-American, probably going to be a first-round pick. I mean, you may have a number 1 pick sitting there. I mean, that's crazy to think about. Also, that I do like that nickname. It is kind of second place after I heard volunteer fireman for Ben Joyce. That's possibly the best nickname I've ever heard.
Yeah. Even better than volley fingers?
I think it's better. Yeah.
Okay.
When I saw that one, I was like, well done. That's perfect.
Yeah. Drew Beam, complete game, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, no runs, no walks. I mean, no walks in three SEC games. That's unheard of. In Tennessee, I think their starters, 68% of their pitches were strikes. So they're filling it up. They're making every team earn everything. And, when you're playing good defense, you have pitchers that can throw strikes. You got pitchers with the stuff to get guys out and chase things. It's hard. It's going to be hard to beat Tennessee with the bats that they have too.
That was a quick note I had on Dolander earlier. You brought up just how much the guys are around the strike zone. That's my thing with him is, he did get touched up for the 2 home runs. I'd way rather see that from a guy like that's always around the zone and just never gets rattled. If he's fine with, he can give up a couple like that and then still just go right back to sitting people down. We said Vanderbilt, good team. They're gonna hit a couple like that. They're gonna get a couple if you're around the strike zone that much. But with the offense that we have, as long as he stays confident, just doesn't let him rattle it, and then gets back to throwing strikes right after that and sitting them down and making them look stupid. Like, as long as we have the offense we have, I'm completely fine with that. And I'm sure Frank Anderson is too.
Yeah, solo shot every now and then, I'll take that. But if you're getting guys on from walks and errors and stuff like that, and then giving up a bomb like that, that can be the difference in a ball game. So
they're getting blinded by the lights.
Exactly. Yeah. Good Lord. I love that. Let's talk about Lipscomb just a little bit, and then we'll go into our MVP. This might go a little bit over 30 minutes, but that's okay. Lipscomb, I thought Lipscomb played pretty well. I thought they got, a few hits on some guys. They swung the bat pretty well. They threw, I think every pitcher that they threw was hitting 90 or 90 something. So, I thought they had a pretty good team on their hands. I thought Tennessee was going to come in with their hair on fire and just destroy Lipscomb because there was that tweet going around of them kind of saying, hey, we beat you last year. But 5-1, it's hard to really complain. Tennessee probably missed out on 3 or 4 runs because of base running errors, just getting back picked and stuff like that. This stuff can't happen.
Yeah, I mean it nothing great, nothing terrible. I mean it's kind of one of those games. I mean to me it was more impressive on the Lipscomb side just from their mentality, just knowing that you're going into this game, you're driving over and Blake Tidwell's announced as the starter. I mean, that's to keep it a 5-1 game. I mean, you said it probably should have been a few more runs, a little bit more distance there, but to go into that game and not just completely get blown out, knowing that one, you're already probably going to face Ben Joyce at some point, and then two, Blake Tidwell's. You start hearing that he's probably going to be the starter that night. I did applaud them for it not being a 26-1 game. Yeah.
I thought they played pretty well. But it doesn't seem like it phases Tennessee to be the hunted instead of the hunter. That number 1 by their name, I know it's going to get a target put on them, and it probably has before the number 1 was put beside their name. But it doesn't seem to. It seems like they're hunting to get back to Omaha. Is the only thing they're concerned with. Like it's not, oh, we got to win this series. That like their mission is to get to Omaha, wherever that. Whoever's in their way is, that's who they're eating that night.
Yeah, I mean they had a target on their back before they were number 1. I think that's pretty much what you were saying. I mean, with Tony Vitello as your coach and the way you play, and you're throwing out quotes. I mean, now that you are number 1, but you're throwing out quotes like, stepping on people's throats, that just keeping them down. I mean, it'll rub some people the wrong way, but I think they had a target, or they at least felt like they had a target on their back before they were number 1. So yeah, I don't think it's going to get to them.
Yeah. And Will Mabry was huge getting out of an inning. Ben Joyce had 3 strikeouts and he went 2 innings. That's you haven't seen a ton of that. I think Will Mabry came in. He threw 2 strikeouts. I'm pretty sure. I think it was 2-2, and it was a 2-2 count when he came in. Struck a guy out. So when he came in, there was 1 out with a runner on second and third. He gets a strikeout and then gets the next batter to strike out as well. So gets out of that inning. And that was a huge kind of like, hey, that was your chance, and we just crushed it. So
coming in the middle of a count like that's not easy at all. And that was just the mentality side of it, of knowing you're coming in. Wait, was it 2-2 or was it 3-2? It was. I
thought it was 2-2.
I think it may have been, but nonetheless knowing that you're in the middle of a count, and a lot of guys when they come in like that, their first instinct is, hey, let's get an early strike. But in that situation, the hitter's down in the count. He's playing defense, so you don't want to leave anything. You want to throw a strike and obviously get the punch out, but you don't want to leave anything just over the middle of the plate because they're going to be swinging on it.
Right. Yeah, and then I thought it was really cool last night. You had Jared Dickey, who's dealing with an injury right now, with a foot injury. His sister comes into town, hasn't seen his sister in, I think, 2 years. She throws out the first pitch. He was able to catch that. He had a lot of family there, so they did get him to pinch hit in the 9th. And, man, no foot, or I guess just 1 foot, and freaking ropes one to right field. Tony Vitello said, like, whoa. Like, when he's like, he came out of the box like he was, about to get a double out of it. And they kind of calmed him down a little bit and just, kind of limped his way to first and then back in the dugout. But that was really cool to see how they were able to, make sure, even if he was hurt, to get him, some action in there in front of his family. And, he didn't disappoint.
One, from what we've seen of him, I mean, that's Tony Vitello may have acted shocked in that moment, but I guarantee you he knows that if there was a chance that he was going to try to get a double or triple out of that, from what we've seen of Jared Dickey, he's going to try to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that turned out to be a run for them, I'm pretty sure. Was that in the 9th? Or I guess that was in the 8th. Yeah, it did end up being a run because Kyle Booker ran for him. So MVP this weekend.
Drew Beam, the easy pick. I mean,
I knew you were going to go there, so I went someone. I feel like that's the common thing is a pitcher or Drew Beam. So I went with somebody different. I went with Mike Honcho. Just getting that started off right at Vanderbilt. He was he should have been 4 for 13 with 4 RBIs. He was 3 of 13 with 3 RBIs in the book. But he also hit a 451 home run last night. So how can I not pick JB, aka Mike Honcho?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about Beam. I thought about Mike Honcho. Now, obviously, I don't know if I'll ever call him Jordan Beck again. I mean, the entire rotation, obviously, because I was about to say Burns, but then you think of, well, Dolander was just as impressive too in the series clinching game, and then you think of Luke. I mean, getting it started after you had a run taken away from you. I mean, that could be deflating for some teams, but then Luke just comes in and hits one, like you said, to Aldean's. I'm sure Morgan Wallen's probably in attendance. I mean, you
caught it on his lap.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably 5 or 6 guys. I mean, Gilbert. I mean, there are 5 or 6 guys that you probably could have went with that kind of, even if it wasn't the most impressive weekend, they set the tone in some way. So
Caleb said, well, the girl's lap, that was in his lap. Yeah.
Only natural.
Yeah. I also think you could have went with Trey Lipscomb. I think he had the best batting average in this series. He also made a play at third base that is a professional baseball play.
Which was good to see because after, I mean, early season when he was tearing the cover off the ball, I know we mentioned it back then that, you know, it's good that you're doing that now because he had a couple mistakes in the field. So good to see that it's not impacting him.
Yep. Well, Caleb, do you want to go MVP?
Trying to come up with a new one for you all.
It's kind of cutting out on you. It's all good. It's all good. If you just want to put it in the chat, I'll read it off before we get out of here. It's
sounds
getting
like
dark.
a CB radio.
Yeah. Are you here? Good.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go we talked about this on this show Sunday. I'm going to go the whole infield. Okay. I know that kind of got overpowered a little bit by the pitching this weekend, but I thought that was the best performance from the infield as a whole. Y'all just mentioned Trey Lipscomb making a couple good plays. You had a couple good double plays, some tough double plays that got turned that were huge for Tennessee. If you get that kind of play, we already talked about the pitching staff and the hitting from Tennessee makes them look like the best team in the country. If you get that kind of play out of the infield from now through June, I don't know how you get beat. I don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. Great point. Yeah, turning that double play on Enrique Bradfield Jr. is, I don't know how many times he's ground into a double play, but I'm pretty sure you can count them on one hand. So yeah, that one was huge to get him off the bases because every time he was on the bases, he was making it tough on Tennessee's pitchers. So yeah,
that throw from Trey was that Friday night that just laser from third.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I mean, if you get that kind of play out of him, especially, and then he's got to stay healthy too, which I know is tough to do through a whole season, but golly.
Yeah, that, he did get eaten up last night and had an error. So definitely, it just seems like they're kind of, I don't want to say took it easy, but I feel like they could have. I mean, I mentioned the base running errors. That hasn't happened very often, especially that amount. They maybe got caught stealing or picked off before, but not that many times in a game, especially with an inferior opponent like Lipscomb. That just can't happen. So, yeah, Missouri this weekend. All weekend, there's going to be a lot of people. Hopefully the weather is nice. I'm tired of it being cold and rainy as I go into Lindsey Nelson Stadium. I guess, just something about it. But we're winning, so I can't be that mad. We're also tailgating. If you want to hit us up, we'll be there. I'm not sure what time yet, but we'll be in the MVP lot right next to the baseball field if y'all want to stop by. Have a little cold one. I don't know about food. I don't know what we're doing. this is kind of just like off the dome. We're going to be out there. So stop by. We'd love to meet you guys. Anything else?
Mike Honcho will provide.
He will, yeah.
He always provides.
Yeah, he's got the flow for sure. He's growing a mustache too. So getting it going. Love it. Guys, thanks for listening. That's all we got. We out.